Today on Here for the Right Reasons, Kayla Quinn breaks down Aven and Rachel's emotional breakup.
I think no matter what though, like Rachel wanted the option.
Yes.
Like she wanted the option to pick her partner, and I feel like he took away the option for her.
Gabby Windy reveals how she is feeling ahead of her big stint on Dancing with the Stars.
I think will be a good shift of gears a little bit to kind of balance out the high emotion of my last experience. But yeah, overall, you know, I don't regret anything and I would do it all over again. No, just kidding.
Plus, we break down all the highs and the lows from part 1 of the Bachelorette finale. We've got that plus so much more on today's Here for the Right Reasons. Hey guys, Christina Garibaldi here with Us Weekly Deputy Editor Sarah Heron. Sarah, wow, what an episode. One more to go. A lot of answers this episode, but still a lot of questions.
Yeah, Rachel's keyword has seemingly been clarity. I personally don't have that much clarity on Rachel or anything that went on in her life, but we did get some closure, kind of.
We did get some closure.
Jack, and even though, as Jesse Palmer, he asked the right questions. He asked them in a weird order.
He did.
I felt like he kept trying to go back when they were like, okay, well, we moved on. And it's like, you should have led with what happened in the fantasy suite. Now they don't want to talk about it anymore, Jesse, but whatever, we'll get there.
We'll get there. Before we get into the news of the week and before we get into our recap, let's see what you guys had to say about last week's show.
Ooh, this is Molly. This is interesting because this is a big debate on the internet about Tino. Mm-hmm. She said Rachel refuses to acknowledge the constant red flags of Tino. Don't see them making it in the long haul.
It's interesting. Before this episode, I didn't really see too many red flags with Tino. And now after watching this one, I'm like, red flags all over the place.
Really? What do you think his red flags are?
I don't know. I mean, I think he was nervous with the meeting her family.
Definitely.
It just seems like, I don't know. Yeah, just getting like a cocky sense from him. Like he just feels like, okay, I have this in the bag. We're good.
Yeah, I definitely was surprised that he did come off kind of nervous. It made me feel like he actually was a little more genuine meeting her family, but I don't know. I think that people feel like like the rose ceremonies, those interstitials, kind of like it's weird. Like when Zach had taken her away, those moments, I'm like, okay, like does he just want to win? Right. Does Rachel just want to be engaged? Like there's a lot of questions here that are confusing.
A lot of questions, and then that teaser. I mean, we're gonna get to it, and I mean, there's just the red flag all over.
Yeah,
we'll
true.
see. Return to Sender said 0 love connections this season, and the men who said no, hats off to them for being true to themselves.
Oof.
I mean, I don't think that we really got the love connections that we wanted to this season because we had 2 bachelorettes, so we couldn't get fully invested in the relationships and the connections that they were making. That's how I feel.
That's true. I think it's hard to bounce back and forth. I mean, even it kind of seems like the way things are going to end is if Gabby and Erich make it through their last fight, which I feel like they will, just based on the vibes of watching her watch the scenes back versus watching Rachel watch the scenes back. That was my favorite part of the episode. I felt like I was watching 2 shows, the reaction cam, and Rachel didn't smile once except for to like laugh at her friend taking the sip of champagne during like sips tea kind of during his Aven thing. And Gabby had a smile on her face most part for when we did see her. But it's kind of interesting that that's like our great love story. They got about 5 minutes of screen time. So
I know it's gonna be interesting. All right. Well, before we get into all the drama, let's get into our news of the week. And this was a bombshell interview. So Nate sat down with Nick Viall on his Viall Files podcast and talk about his breakup with Michelle. And he said, "I miss the Michelle that I fell in love with. I'm not sure I miss the Michelle I broke up with." Yikes. Oh man. He said our relationship was tough. There's lots of ups and downs, lots of arguments, lots of fights, and just not really clicking. Not really seeing eye to eye. It was rocky. Don't get me wrong. We had amazing moments in between rockiness, but it was rocky. He said that they basically broke up right after this big fight that they had at Wango Tango back in June. He said afterwards he felt lost and confused, and then he left to travel back to Austin. He said, long story short, the weekend was not a good weekend. Her and I up late having very deep conversations. I think the day before I was having very deep conversations with her friends too, because her friends weren't having a good time either. It was just a bad weekend for everybody. He broke up with her over the phone, and he just realized that he was done. And it's interesting because I think a lot of people were sympathetic with Michelle after this breakup. And then I wonder if a lot of people's opinion changed after hearing Nate talk about this. Or is it like, why are you speaking about this?
I think there's both. I think there's definitely going to be those people, which there's a point of why are you kind of airing your dirty laundry? And Nate, I listened to the whole thing and I wrote about it. So I feel like I was like very in it. Mm-hmm. And there was moments where Nate got emotional and it was like, oh, I feel really bad for you. And you are kind of a sympathetic character in this, and I get it. But then there were other moments when Nick would ask a question and you could tell he wanted like the tea and whatever, and Nate, you could kind of tell, wanted to give it to him, and then he would stop himself, but then 2 seconds later he'd be like, no, I'll just kind of tell you, but I won't totally tell you, and I'll kind of plant these seeds in your head. So like saying almost everything but not everything, which I think he really was trying to like kind of take the high road, but also getting his side out, because people do villainize Nate, and that must be frustrating. And that I think that clearly bothers him, whether he says it doesn't or not, because he wouldn't do this if it didn't. But almost by giving us 3/4 of the story of her allegedly DMing with this country singer, and you know, I don't think anything happened, but like he felt uncomfortable that she had deleted the messages. He said just enough to be like, okay, well, you're planning this thing to kind of make her look bad, but you're not actually telling me what happened. And now I'm imagining something maybe worse that happened. And I think the way he went around it was kind of weird. Like he was battling the whole interview of like, what do I expose? Because I want to clear my name. And I also am now just talking to Nick and getting emotional and uncomfortable, but then catching himself, but not actually catching himself because he still said just enough. Does that make any sense?
No, it makes total sense. He was like battling with himself throughout the entire interview. Do I say this? Do I not say this? And
yeah,
but I don't feel like Michelle is going to come back and say anything about this. I feel like she's just,
I think she's going to make 1 or 2 like cryptic comments, which is just what she needs. And I really think this kind of came down to, they fell hard on the show for each other. Then they had a great couple months of like their happy couple weekends. And one of the big takeaways, I think, was him admitting that they got into some big fight on New Year's Eve that carried into January 2nd. And he started having doubts on January 2nd. I went back and looked. That was 11 or 12 days after their finale aired.
Yikes.
So that was 11 days of being a public couple where they weren't in this bubble of The Bachelor and seeing each other consistently and trying to communicate. So whatever this fight was about, it was their first real fight, because any fights on the show are not real. They're like, or they're in like a bubble and they're not talking about real life stuff, no matter what they think they've overcome together. They haven't overcome anything.
Right.
So this was their first real fight. And he, at that moment, basically was like, I was having doubts since then. So from January to March for him, they were kind of like rocky and fighting, which is why he didn't make the move. Then they got back on solid ground. Then the same fight, similar style, happened at Wango Tango, and he went, all right, I'm out. These whole couple months haven't really been going well. And she took that as the blindside, because it's like, you broke up with me over the phone. But in his mind, he's like, we've been breaking up since January.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting.
Very, very interesting. 2 sides to every story, I guess. But like
3 really. But now we have Nate's, and we'll see if we get any more Michelle's.
Oh, I hope so, because I live for the drama.
I know, me too. And I honestly, I got to give it up to Nick. It was a pretty juicy interview.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. All right. Well, what else is going on this week?
Oh my God, I almost forgot about this, which is crazy. But last week, right after everyone was loving Gabby and Erich, and kind of Erich being her final suitor, he had to apologize for something that happened in his past. So a photo resurfaced of Erich in blackface from when he was in high school. And it was printed in his high school yearbook, which is kind of one of the craziest parts of this whole thing. Yeah. And he apologized. He said, I wholeheartedly apologize for the insensitive photo of me in blackface from my high school yearbook that has been circulating. What I thought at the time was a representation of my love for Jimi Hendrix was nothing but ignorance. I was naive to the hurtful implications of my actions to the Black community and those closest to me, and will forever regret my offensive and damaging behavior. I'm deeply ashamed of my actions and understand that my apology is only the first step in taking accountability. Nate was one of the men from the season to comment. Obviously, Nate is a Black man, and he wrote, appreciate you taking ownership, bro. I can't absolve you of this, but I can attest to the man I've met, and you've been nothing less than someone who I'd consider a friend. You aren't the first person I've befriended with a similar past, and the difference is not having an attitude of willful ignorance. Your school accepting this behavior and posting this yearbook tells me that no peers or faculty around you spoke to guide you away from this issue. Kids do fall victim to their environments time and time again. Continue to grow and learn from your past, and I'll continue to support you and provide advice should you need or ask for it. That is so interesting and so true. Erich is 29. Mm-hmm. So this yearbook is not a decade old.
Yeah, it's not very old. It's insane that I agree with Nate. You kind of fall victim to the environment that you are surrounded in. And for the school and the faculty to print this photo and think that it's okay, tells a lot about, where that the community that he was in.
Right. And he's from New Jersey. I bet that's Bedminster. I don't think that's that far from where I grew up. And
Same.
cannot imagine someone coming to school and everyone just whatever. But it's also the last couple of years have been so eye-opening for so many people. Like, I don't remember what I was thinking. And like, I don't think I would have been like, great, put that in the yearbook. I can't imagine I would have. But like, it's interesting to think now in like this lens, how crazy it's hard to wrap your head around, but like back at, not that he was that long, it's just such a crazy thing. But I think his apology was great. And I think Nate saying that was only going to help him in the like people moving on and accepting his apology.
Definitely. I couldn't agree with you more. All right. Well, moving on to former Bachelorette contestant Grant Kemp. He proposed to his girlfriend, Chloe Metcalf, in the most romantic way possible. They were in Greece, and he said, I told us I figured Santorini would be the best spot to propose. I chose it to take place during sunset and got a photographer set up. He revealed that they will be walking down the aisle in fall of 2023, said, I knew when we started dating that she was the one. I just needed to find the best time to ask her to marry me. She had a lot of tears in her eyes, but at the same time had a huge smile on her face. They met back in April when she was working on one of his friends' music video shoots. Looked like it was a beautiful engagement, and good for him.
Yeah, I mean, JoJo's season was like 6 years ago. Makes sense that these guys are getting engaged, or JoJo finally got married. Lace will be back on the beach, which is all I care about. And I think it's some fun timing for us that Grant is now engaged and Lace is back in Mexico. Obviously, we're engaged on season 3 Paradise. So.
I totally forgot about that they were engaged. And
I bring it up all the time. As you know, the matching tattoos are like everything.
That's matching tattoos. Yes, that's right. I cannot wait. We are only a couple of weeks away from Paradise. It's going to be so good. But let's get into our Bachelor talk. And as we know, Gabby, following her stint on The Bachelorette, she will be competing on Dancing with the Stars in the ballroom. Her partner is Val, and we actually caught up with them right after the announcement was made. So take a look.
Gabby, I know that Hannah dealt with a lot of highs and lows coming straight from The Bachelorette into Dancing with the Stars. How are you feeling, now that Fantasy Suites and everything is airing right now? How are you mentally feeling coming from The Bachelorette into this season? And are you happy?
Yeah, I can say, I am happy, and I do. I just feel, Bachelor is really emotional. It was challenging in so many ways that, you have to really get to know yourself, make yourself vulnerable, try and make the right decision that's best for you at the time. So I feel like now going into something that's more physical, a little more fun and a challenge in a different way, I think will be a good shift of gears a little bit to kind of balance out the high emotion of my last experience. But yeah, overall, I don't regret anything, and I would do it all over again. No, just kidding.
Val, I spoke to Jenna, and she said that this is your year. You're in it to win it this year. So what makes this partnership with Gabby so special?
Well, first of all, I'm grateful to be back on the show in general. I'm grateful to be dancing. I actually have a partner that, gives me a legit shot. And I really appreciate that as well. She's a great teammate, great partner, great mover. She could move. She could, so I have all the elements that I need. She has a great fan base. People like her. I don't know why, but they do. Yeah. And so, and she obviously has a sense of humor that I think goes a long way in any room that I'm a part of. So I think we have a really great team.
Yeah, she kind of teased that she's in a happy place, and has no regrets, would do it all over again. But we remember Hannah Brown had some, very highs and lows coming off The Bachelorette into the ballroom. Yeah, but she was going through a really bad breakup at the time. So we'll see if this is different for Gabby, if she's still with Erich. So we'll see.
Yeah, I love that you asked her that. It's because Hannah, that was like eye-opening in the book, like how she wanted to like be present, but she was really still just like so miserable, and everything that happened with Jed and with Tyler and then Peter, like she had so much going on. And I think it's interesting that Gabby just jumped right into this. And then next week she has to go to Dancing with the Stars premieres on Monday. And then the live Bachelor finale is Tuesday. Like she's going to be tired.
She's going to be really tired. Really tired.
Working the Queen's funeral.
Yes, right. Oh my God. So much going on. And I know you also spoke to Kayla.
Yes, Kayla recapped the whole episode with me on the podcast, so to listen to that. But we had to, of course, talk about, everyone's talking about this Aven and Rachel breakup. And is this did Rachel just want to be engaged? Is it was that her message she was getting across? Was it not, was Aven and her dating not good enough? Or was Aven kind of taking back what he said? That's kind of a big debate. So this is Kayla's take on whether Rachel just kind of wanted to be engaged, or if she had a right to kind of come down on Aven this way.
Some people were saying, did it feel like Rachel just wanted to be engaged, and it could be anyone, or is this more of a betrayal because she felt so confident that Aven was going to?
I mean, I think it depends on who her heart is set on. I feel like she did, no matter what, as the Bachelorette. We see this time and time again, want everyone to love her. Like anytime a guy broke up with her, she was like blindsided, and she was like, nobody likes me, when we were on the cruise. And so every time, like even Aven adding on to it, I think when they are not falling in love with her and aren't 100% committed, she's totally blindsided. But yeah, I think she, of course, wants an engagement as the Bachelorette, and she probably sees it as a failure if she doesn't get that. But I still think she loves Tony. We've been led this whole season to believe that they have the deepest connection.
Yeah.
So if Aven proposed, I don't know. What do you think?
I think there is an argument to be made for it. The way the two of them fought, because they had like the same fight, Aven and Rachel over and over again, was kind of like, almost maybe like she was kind of just, because she just kept saying, I want to be engaged. I want to be engaged. I want whatever. And he kept saying, but I want to be with you. I want to be with you. So it looked kind of bad on her end. Like he kept saying the right things almost, but not exactly. And I do get it. The pressure of being the Bachelorette. And also like, what if Gabby gets a proposal? And as you mentioned, Rachel hasn't really taken any rejection very well. And I'm not faulting her for it, but that's a clear thing that we've watched.
I think no matter what though, like Rachel wanted the option. Yes. Like she wanted the option to pick the proposal or to pick her partner. And I feel like he took away the option for her.
Definitely interesting. All right. So let's get right into it. Let's break down this week's episode. And I mean, we're talking about Aven, so let's just continue it. I mean, what was your take on this? Do you feel like Rachel is just wants to be engaged at the end of this and doesn't really care about who it is?
A little bit. I felt that way when I was watching it, especially during like their second fight. About it, because they had the same fight twice, and you could tell Aven when he came for the second one was like very prepared, and because he was so kind of thrown off because he thought the meeting with her friends went great, and then they clearly got a different vibe. And I think originally the fight was that Aven, he told Rachel he was ready to be engaged in life, but didn't realize that meant he was definitely going to propose on the show. Rachel took what he said as, I'm going to propose on the show. And I kind of was team Aven for sure. And I was like, she just wants to get engaged on the show more than anything. Like, it's a free Neil Lane ring. Like, I refuse to be the Bachelorette that doesn't get engaged. Like, I was like, what is the point here? You're not listening to him repeatedly say, I want to be with you. I want a future together. But then during the live part, because he was so apologetic and he was like, I should have respected what you needed more. I was like, oh, like maybe he did mislead her, or maybe he's just apologizing because he feels like he should and wants to be the Bachelor. I don't know.
Right. No, I mean, she was so sure when she was talking to her family and her friends. You're like, he is ready. He is going to propose. There's no question in my mind. So I definitely feel like she was a little bit blindsided by all this, being like, where is this coming from? I thought that like you were going to get down on one knee. So I do understand that. But, take a step back. You came here to find love. Yes, I'm sure you want to get engaged at the end of this, but if he's not ready, but he's still your person, that should be okay. It kind of reminded me of Rachel Lindsay and Peter Krause's fight at the end. I'm like, I thought a fake eyelash was going to be on the floor at the end of this, but it kind of gave me that vibes where he was like, I'm ready to be with you. I'm just not ready to take that next step. But then you're arguing, this is why you come on the show. So I don't know. It's really hard to kind of figure. I do see both sides, but it just seemed like she was just like, I just need to get a ring on this. I just need to, maybe because she was so hurt by Clayton's season, and she just really wants that reassurance that somebody is going to love her and wants to be with her forever. But it's a really quick time period.
Yeah, I mean, Aven was making good points. He was dropping facts. And he again reiterated 1,000 times I want to be with you. I think he opened up a can of worms with any doubt, and then he couldn't really put that back in, and she was harping on it. So there was really no way to get out of this, because even if he then was like, you're right, I don't know, like, I don't think she would have believed him. So it was kind of a mess. I also think he hinted at this. He had the first overnight date and then waited a week to meet her family. And clearly during that week, he started having the doubts about it. And he kind of said that he has regrets and he should have said something before he walked in the room. It would have imploded and it wouldn't have gone well. So I don't think he should have done that. But him even saying that, I was like, oh, I don't know if he's over her 100%, because he admitted he had like regrets. They usually come on their live thing and it's been so many months, which we saw with Zach to transition into him. Like, it was like such a non-factor. Yeah. And I was so disappointed by all the Zach stuff, because from their breakup that aired on the episode was like about a couple minutes, I was shocked that Rachel wasn't more offended in person about him saying that she wasn't real and that he saw like the Bachelorette version of her. Yeah. She made a little kind of comment to Tino and Aven at the rose ceremony, but like, I really thought she was going to be really upset about that. I don't know if they cut it out. And then during their confrontation, Zach, again, was this a Bachelor audition? Just apologizing immediately. And it's like, what'd you do?
Right. I'm like, I needed the cameras in the fantasy suite. I need to know what this awkward conversation was about and why, as soon as cameras went off, you guys feel like you were like two strangers in a room. Like, it just.
Right. And his implication was that she was being fake because during the day and during the rest of their relationship, which he felt like he was the one, the cameras go away. She's like, this is going to be awkward. Why did she even bring him into the fantasy suite if she was going to act like awkward the whole time and like kind of make him know that he wasn't the one and present this? And I get it. Like, it's a lot going on. Like, I'm not trying to just like attack Rachel, but if I'm Zach, that's why he got that vibe. And then why didn't he ask her about it? And why didn't she ask him, why did you feel that way? Like, we didn't get any closure on these like allegations of being fake, which is like kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal. And like, coming off of Clayton's season, I saw a lot of people saying this too. It's like, you kind of did what Clayton did to you, to these guys. And like, you knew, like, if you just wanted to be with Tino, because that's what it seems like. We've been talking about this from day one. Why did you kind of string these guys along for so long? Like, it's almost like you were looking for an out to get out of both of these relationships. And that's kind of what you did, rather than just being straight up and being like, I'm in love with somebody else.
I definitely think that's what she did with Zach. And I kind of think that's what she did with Aven too, except for the fact that she kept telling people that she thought Aven was the one.
Right.
And I was like, when did that happen? Like, we didn't see enough of their relationship also to like buy that. And I'm not saying she's lying, but like, because she was hysterical during their breakup. Like, those emotions were definitely real. Mm-hmm. But was that like, oh, I'm going to be the Bachelorette that doesn't get engaged? Oh, I'm going to be the Bachelorette that looks stupid? Or was that, I love Aven, I thought he was the one? Because when she said that, I was like, you did?
Right. Yeah. No, you make a good point, because it's like, I know that she and Gabby are like best friends, but is there almost like a competition being like, I don't want to be the one to fail in this. Like, I need to get engaged. If Gabby's going to get engaged, I have to get engaged. Like, I don't want to be the one to walk away brokenhearted while she's super happy. I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot to kind of go through, but I do wish we got more of Aven, because he seems like such a likable guy. And I wonder if like he may be in the running to be the next Bachelor. I wouldn't be surprised.
I could see it.
I could definitely see it. What did you think of Erich meeting the family? It seems like they all absolutely loved him. But then, you know, meeting the family, and then he's kind of not ready to get engaged either, kind of just wants to date.
Yeah, listen, I think it went like really well with the parents. I think that they loved that they only had to meet one, which I think is great. And I think that, you know, Gabby's emotions are really real. And I think it was just so seamless. And their fight at the end was so confusing to me. And I think Gabby kind of started it without realizing she did, because I went back and watched it, and she's kind of like talking in circles when they had that like private moment. And she's like, maybe she's like, I'm not the one proposing, we have to see. And he's like, what does that mean? And she's like, well, I don't know. And then he's like, I just want to date you. And then she freaks out. Yeah. So I kind of feel like they were just talking in circles and they didn't even need to have this conversation. And they like didn't even realize what they were saying. Like, I don't think any of them meant what they said.
I don't think so either. I think it just, like you said, kind of snowballed into something that shouldn't have been. But like, yes, if you're going to get engaged, you're still going to date for a while. You're not heading to the altar straight from the show. Like, you're going to be together for like, at least I would say like a year or so to figure out if you guys really even want to be together. I think the ring is just kind of like a placeholder when it comes to the Bachelorette.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like they're trying to make more drama with this than it's.
Well, her reaction was real. Like, she did spiral, but I almost just feel like this conversation didn't need to happen. And maybe Erich saw that as an opening to be like, well, if you just want to date, I'm down. Like, he was down to propose, but then he's like, saw like, oh, okay. Like, well, I don't have to propose. Yeah.
I mean, he's got to think of his own feelings too, because he's like, well, what if I get down on one knee and she's like, I don't want to do this. This is going to be humiliating for me.
Yeah. So I almost feel like she gave him an opening, and he also maybe was like, well, I thought like like the way it was shot, that they were kind of like in private, but clearly not. It was like, did they think this isn't on camera? The whole thing felt weird to me, and it was such a weird contrast from them being like, we're gonna have this amazing future 5 seconds before, and now we're in this fight. Like it really escalated, and I was like, did everyone have too much champagne? Like I didn't really get it.
I didn't really get it either, but I'm sure we'll get answers next week, and then we're also going to get answers about what happens with Tino after this disastrous family meeting. It ended well. Her dad seemed to really like him, but based on the teasers, it seems like this relationship just kind of implodes.
They keep bringing up Tino's parents, and they keep bringing up the will Hurst parents come around. So I have to imagine there's a fight with Tino's parents, and that's when Rachel's like, you said they, like, I feel like what she's pleading to him is, you said they were going to come around.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or Tino got home and, finds out that Rachel was in love with someone else, and he spirals about that. And he has parents who don't believe in the show, and maybe they're encouraging him to, get out of this. Because to go into my social, it's Tino's dad. Tino's dad. I don't know if I can't remember if we mentioned it on the show or if it was only on the podcast, but his dad has been posting on Facebook, and you can tell he doesn't like the show. Mm-hmm. And this week he wrote, Bachelor Nation won't be sorry when they don't have me to kick around anymore. He always brings up this KTLA news anchor who crapped on the show. And then he said, Big Tony, you'll have to wait your turn, referring to Rachel's dad. Watch the Bachelorette tonight at 8 p.m. for the yawn. Most finale ever, just part 1. So glad it's almost over. And his mom in the comments, they're just kind of with their friends, rolling their eyes and laughing at this. And it's your son is almost potentially engaged to this girl. She's hysterically crying. It's weird to mock it on your public Facebook page.
It's so weird to mock it on your public Facebook page. And you're also kind of putting down your son. Your son decided to go on this show. You knew that was happening. Why are you kicking this poor girl? You knew what the format of the show. This is not new. This show has been on for 20 years or whatever it is. So it's I don't know why you're making this girl feel terrible for the choices that she made when your son is going to do it. And your son could, if this doesn't work out, I mean, I don't think he would, but your son could potentially be the Bachelor. How are you going to feel if he would be on The Bachelor or Bachelor in Paradise or anything like that? I don't know. It's just, his dad is really taking it to a whole nother level. It was the same. I had the same social as you. It was the same thing, because I just couldn't believe that his dad would say something like this. I would be mortified.
Especially because when he was posting at the beginning of the season, I don't know if we really noticed, but I picked it up last week because whatever. And then it's starting to a little thing. And then he posted this, and it's just, I mean, you can joke with your friends about it all you want, but this is really happening. And these are Rachel's real feelings and your son's real feelings. And it's really kind of weird to make a mockery of it. I'm are we going to see them next week? Are they going to be the audience? Doesn't seem like it.
No way. And based on what he's writing on Facebook and everything like that, they're definitely not together. There's no way.
Imagine if this are. I agree, because what if they're engaged right now and he's mocking their love story on his Facebook?
Yeah, right. And also, he spoiled the ending for a lot of people, because if you're going to read into this, you definitely spoiled the show.
Unless Tino and his dad are estranged and he's off living with the Recchias and he's, but I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Definitely don't think so. Well, like you said, Kayla is going to be recapping the show with you on this week's Here for the Right Reasons podcast, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So make sure everybody take a listen. One more episode to go. Of course, we're going to break it all down here next week. Keep commenting, keep subscribing, and we'll see you guys next week for the big Bachelorette finale. For more news, content, and exclusive interviews, make sure to hit the sub, like, and bell button down below and visit usmagazine.com.